Hey everybody, this is Evan, developer for the Pageline store, here again with another walkthrough video for my latest product called HeroNav, which is a special primary navigation section. It's very customizable, and my main goal with this section was just to make it very easy for anyone to create something that's suiting their website, whatever they need. And yeah, I'm going to go through all of the options with you guys. I'm going to show you how it works, because I don't think a few screenshots really do it justice. So just looking over some of the main points. Its biggest feature is probably in its customizability, in that you have a lot of control over the color and different aspects of its appearance. So color, you can add a cool gradient, the border radius, height, shadow, other things like fonts, and the drop-down menus. You all have control over a lot of different aspects of all the things that are important that you want to control with your navigation. So with that being said, I'm just going to kind of jump into a little demo here, and I'll try to show just as many different things about it as I can without taking a really long time. So I've gone ahead and just kind of reset my settings so everything is back to the default. And so once you have it installed, it's going to show up here under the site options, under page lines, similar to where the nav bar is. I have mine turned off though. So HeroNav is here, and this is what it will look like, all of the options once you have it installed. These are what the defaults are going to look like. And you'll see there's a fair amount of options, but they're not all required to be set in any particular way, of course. So I guess right off the bat, I'll just show you kind of what the defaults look like. And the menu is up pretty high, so I'm actually just going to add a quick just custom style just to my site here, just to make it a little bit easier to see, just so it's not so, I don't know, up there. So yeah, these editors have been enhanced with CodeGlow, giving it a cooler syntax highlighting theme than the regular boring one. If you guys don't know about that, CodeGlow is another one of my products. You can check it out on the store. It's awesome, I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh. Okay, so now it's just down here where we can see it a little bit better. Okay, so off the bat, there's a few different options that I kind of want to point out. One of them is just that you can see that all of the items are evenly distributed across the bar. They're not all kind of like cramped over to one side or anything. They're just evenly using up the navigation and not leaving a whole bunch of empty space. You can still turn that off and kind of go back to that the other style, where things just kind of and it's called initial widths in the options. I'll show it to you guys, but if you want to, you can still have everything kind of over to one side. And the reason you may want to do that is if you have a couple items that have maybe longer text, you need to have it that way, and it just doesn't fit well with the evenly distributed mode. So, but I think it's pretty appealing visually. So, and the other thing I want to point out is just that by default there's this option that gives the items a separated look rather than having them all kind of blend in together. That you can turn off as well if you want to. There's a little bit of a round on the corners, or a little bit of a border radius on the corners, and a little bit of a shadow, which you can also turn off and control all those things. The fonts are all set to just the default for your site. There's nothing custom about the fonts to begin with. And By default, the drop-down mode is the click mode. You can set it to hover if you want to, or just turn it off. Yeah, so that's that. There are many levels you can go and reveal, you know, sub levels of drop-down navigation. I don't think that there's a limit to it, but right here I can show 4 levels: top level, first sub-level, second sub-level, and then a third sub-level. So yeah, you can get a little bit, you know, you can really drill down with that. So now I'm going to go ahead and just show kind of some of the options and what we can do with this. So like I said, we can change the behavior trigger of what makes the drop-down menus to drop down. The default is click. We can also set it to hover if we want to, and I'll just save that and show this. This is one of those things that some people really have a strong opinion about it, what, you know, which way you want it to be, and that's totally cool, and it will just work the same way with hover. I personally prefer click. There's a lot of discussion that's happened about it, and it all comes down to user intent. And you know, with hover, things can start flying out all over the place just by someone moving their mouse, whereas click is requiring the user to intend to reveal the menu. So I think that's a little bit better in my opinion, but everyone has their own opinion about what they like. So now we have some colors. This is the base color, is defining the primary like background color for the menu. So it's just set to like a gray color by default, but we can choose anything we want to. I would only recommend maybe not going so bright, but you know, by far like a lot, almost anything is fine. Just depends on how you have your other settings set up. So I'll just go with, I don't know, some kind of like a blue color, maybe like a dark bluish color like that. And we can also control the opacity. I'll just leave it blank right now, but the opacity, this uses a color picker, but if you need to refresh your memory about this one, you can always look in the more information. So white is opaque, which means it's a totally solid color, and black is transparent, and anything in between is translucent. So if we go somewhere in the middle here, it doesn't matter if it's into a color or not, it's just using the lightness. So totally light is opaque, and anything below that is some amount of transparency. So black is invisible, basically. So if you wanted to have it 50% transparent, you would have it somewhere in the middle. If you wanted to have it a little bit more opaque or less transparent, you would go closer to the top, and down towards the bottom would be more transparent. And that's only applying to the color, it's not applying to the whole navigation itself. It's just applying to the color. But other colors use that opacity value as well. We'll get into that in just a minute. But I'm going to just leave that just as the default value, which is totally white, or you can just leave it empty and it will just use the default value. The base text color is white, I believe. Yes. So by default it's a white. You can choose anything you want, of course, it's color picker. So we have a blue color here. I'm gonna leave it on white for now, or maybe get into like some kind of like a really light teal color or something. See what happens with that. May not be that good. We can always change it. It's very easy. So let's just save it and see what kind of comes up from what we have so far. Again, I'm going to try and go through this kind of quickly, but I do want to show everything. So you can see that right away there is some like hover colors and the drop-down background colors. These are all colors that are relative to this base color that we defined, which is the main color you see in the background there. this is the current page, so it has one variation of the base color, and other pages, like you can set your own kind of adjustments of the base color for whether it's a child page, item, or ancestor page. So that's more a hierarchical thing, but if you know about menus, then that will all make sense to you. But I think it's pretty intuitive. Basically, you can control the color that you see on a hover state for the items based on a lighter or darker color of the base color that we defined. You can also do this set colors in the same way for items, navigation menu items that are a parent of the current page or an ancestor of the current page. So either the current page's parent or that page's parent, but in menu items. So hopefully I didn't confuse everyone there. It's not that hard, just play around with it and just see what happens. I'll show it in just a second. The gradient is something I think is really cool about this section, and a gradient is one of those things that can really give elements on the web, or graphic media, a really just nice professional look to it. But it's one of those things that if you don't know what you're doing, it can kind of make it look bad. And so the reason these are very helpful for creating a gradient is that these are, again, they're relative adjustments of the base color. So we're not gonna, there's no risk of making some crazy gradient that doesn't look good, because it's all just slight adjustments. So we can control the color of the top part of the gradient, which would be showing at the top of the background color, and the bottom as well, or just one or just the other. And then there's also an option to kind of turn it into a reflected gradient, and I'll show what that does in a minute. So right now we have no there's nothing applied by default. So what I'll go ahead is I'll just make this a little bit lighter. You can see the value that it's using right there, and you can tell what it's going to do to it just with the wording there. So I'm just going to give it a top contrast of 10, which is going towards the lighter side. So the top of the gradient is going to be a little bit lighter than the base color, and I can just slide this down and make it a little bit darker than the base color. Let's leave that the way it is for now. Save it, and we will refresh. So now we have a cool gradient, which is only applied to the top level background. It doesn't kind of then affect the drop down menus. Those are still kept the same way. But you can see that the top of it is lighter than the base color, and the darker side, or the bottom side of it, is using a darker adjustment of the base color. So nothing crazy, but definitely gives it a different look. Can give it a more polished and professional look if that's something that you're looking for and works with your website. So the other thing I will show is the invert option. So this says the top becomes the inside and the bottom becomes the top and bottom. So this is yeah, exactly what it says. The top is going to be the middle color, and the bottom becomes the top and bottom. So I'll just show you what that looks like real quick. Basically, the way it is without this is you're controlling one for the top and one for the bottom, and then the middle is kind of like the base color, and then when you're inverting it, you kind of have control over the top, middle, and bottom, but the top and bottom are the same. So I'll just go ahead and refresh here. So that is what that looks like, and it's a little bit dark in the middle. this way and bright at the top and the bottom. If we wanted to make it lighter in the middle, we would pump this up to the positive and bring this down maybe even just a little bit. Don't need to, you can go as far as 25 as far as the units of contrast, but sometimes subtle adjustments look the best. So I'm just gonna reverse that. It's a little bit dark for my taste, the top and bottom. So I would just take the this one down a bit, and maybe even just leave it at 0. Or we could even bump it up to, I'm sorry, it's brighter. This is the top and bottom, so that's fine. But the middle, right? Yeah, the top and bottom, we want to be brighter. And the top, the middle part, is a bit dark. That's why it looked, or it was bright. Let's see what happens. We're just lightening the top and bottom. Save that. And refresh. Actually looks like the top and bottom have been darkened. Okay, there was actually a little bit, there was a mismatch of wording here where with the invert gradient the top was saying it becomes the inside and the bottom becomes the top and bottom, but it's actually the other way around, where like it says now, top becomes the top and bottom and the bottom becomes the inside, which I think is actually more intuitive. So just a little bit of a wording mix up there. So yeah, to continue on, right now I have it set with the top contrast of 10, lighter, so the top and bottom are 10 units lighter than the base color. And I'm going to make the inside a little bit, we can even make it even more lighter. You could pump it up all the way and see what comes out. So that's a really brighter version. It looks pretty cool actually. It kind of looks electric, like electric blue. It's pretty cool. If I was going to do this, actually, I'd probably just, you know, put this one down to 0 and then like adjust this to 15. That way it's closer to the base color and there's not such a difference with the drop down color. But anyways, moving on. States, this is kind of what I was talking about, how we can control the amount of contrast in the color that's shown when you're hovering over an item, or we are, let's say we go to a page and now we can see there's this color here. Well, we are on a category page, which means that the item for the post page is showing the parent color for the item, which right now is just using the default value, which as we can see is a little bit darker. If we want to, you see it's going in this order. This is the way they take precedence. So there's current page and then there's a current page ancestor, which is, so yeah, parent or ancestor use the same. So I'm gonna pump this up to be lighter and we'll see what happens. There we go. So this is an ancestor of the current page, and you can see that the hover color is still a dark color. So you can go lighter or darker, which is handy depending on what your base color is and what kind of settings you have, what your font color is. All these things tie in together and allow you to just, you know, make whatever looks best for you and your site. So moving on, we can change the current page item color as well as the hover contrast color. It's all the same. We're either going darker or lighter, and I don't think we need to go through each one of these because it's pretty much the same. So moving on, we have control over the fonts for the whole navigation. Now the primary font, if we just set the primary font, I particularly like Droid Sans, and we can make the primary font larger or smaller. I believe the font size only applies to the top level, and then the secondary in both cases applies to only the drop-down menus. And the primary font, if we don't select a secondary font, it will define the font for the whole menu. So right now if I said Droid Sans, the whole menu and all the drop-downs will use Droid Sans. But if I want to, I can select a different font just for the drop-downs. I'll just choose this right now. It's kind of a, yeah. Let's see, what else is cool? I don't know. Yeah, I'll just go with something easy to recognize like Courier. So, and yeah, we'll just take a look at what this looks like in a second and change our fonts. So right now we have Droid Sans for the top level, and we have Courier for our drop downs. Now, as we saw, we can also adjust the font size in a relative way. So this is relatively adjusting the font based on however you have things. You may have some custom CSS for your site to adjust your base font size, you know, whatever is being applied to your body tag, to be larger or smaller. And this will, by default, the navigation menu is using, you know, your default font size for everything. But if we want to, we can make it a little bit bigger or smaller. So 1.0 is normal, that's no change. If we want to go larger, we just slide it up towards larger. We can make it 1.5 times larger, or all the way up to as much as 2.5 times larger. I could have allowed for making it even larger, but it just seemed silly. But who knows, if I get a lot of requests for people who want to be able to make their font even bigger, then I will be glad to make that adjustment there in the option. But I just didn't want to make it too large, because then it would be too easy to, or it would make it more difficult to fine-tune the adjustment that we want to get. Because right now we can make pretty fine-tuned adjustments. You can see you know, how many numbers we have here. So okay, so yeah, I can go up to 1.5 or down to 1.475. So it's increments of 15 thousandths of, yeah, I'm not even gonna think about that, but basically 1.5 is 1.5 times the you know, whatever it's currently being styled to use. So I'll just give this a quick save. We'll see how that changes. So we can see that it's much larger now, and with the default height, that looks a little bit tight for my taste. So what we may want to do is go ahead and just use our height adjustment option to give it a taller size. So we'll go over here. The default we can see is 38, which is what we're using here. That's in pixels. So we can slide up to, I don't know, 50, just see what that looks like. And at the same time, as we're making it bigger, we're going to go ahead and give it a larger border radius. Its default is 3, we'll try 8. Go ahead and save that. Refresh. Okay, so it's a little bit more suiting for the larger type. So that's cool. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and show some of these other things that we can control. We can turn off the shadow. There's the shadow that we have is kind of on the subtle side, but if you wanted to maybe put in your own styling using maybe some of the built-in less mixins that make that really easy, you could do that, and rather than trying to override the current styles, you could just turn it off and then add your own styles. Or if you just didn't want a shadow at all, you could just disable it. Pretty self-explanatory. The distribute mode, this has to do with whether or not things are evenly distributed or if they're all kind of over to the side, which I call initial widths. And just show that real quick, and then I'll also show this in a second. That's the separation styling I mentioned, which is turned on by default. So this is kind of looking more like something that we've seen before. So now they're not all evenly distributed. And now if I go turn off this separation, turn those on or off, so now it's a little bit cleaner maybe. And these arrows, these are something that are familiar to some. This is the bootstrap style arrow. This has been a little bit confusing for some people, and what this does is it adds arrows. Not these are the carrots on the items themselves. Some people have asked or confused this option with hiding these, and that's not the case. You'll see what that does in a second. So there we go. See, you have a little arrow there that kind of points at the menu. So that's what that is. Those are off by default. And then we can also add the search box, which floats over to the right by default and just sits in the middle and just has this cool translucent look to it, so it maintains some of the color that you have from your base. And now I'm just going to kind of just show some of the other possible configurations we can do. We'll go back to distributed mode. We'll go set the height a little bit shorter. I'll go to like a 6 pixel radius. This is a little bit big. We'll just go to like 1.2. And let's see. I'll turn the invert off. We'll go to like a -5 plus 7. Our base color will go to just some medium gray, and I don't know, I'll see what maybe like a yellow looks like for our text color, and turn this back to click. Refresh this. There you go. Well, the yellow is a little bit hard to read, so we can just change that. Maybe a darker color, more of a kind of a burnt orange a little bit. There we go. It's still a little bit tough to read. Maybe I have to go a little bit darker on the color. But you can just see just how much control we have in creating all different kinds of color combinations, and the control we have over just about everything. And this makes it really quick and easy. If we were working with a website where we already had some idea of what kind of color theme we were going to be working with, it'd probably be a little bit easier, but I'm just kind of picking colors here. Just show an example. There you go. That's pretty cool. It's kind of similar to the default a little bit, but I kind of like the dark colors myself. But we can also go into like a really light color, and well, with our text we'll want to go and use a darker color, of course. And I still need to show the opacity, and for that I will turn on a cool background image. So this is cool. Everything until now has been kind of on the darker side. This is, you know, how we can show how things are still cool, and how we can do things that look light as well, and everything in between as far as colors. I like to do kind of green with this too. Something in here, pretty cool. Oh, that's just a text color. I want to do this. Text we want to do, let's go with green. Get back to something like something like that. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Now when you get starting to use colors, the only trick is just getting a good, if you want to use a color rather than just black or white. Black and white just tend to work pretty well with just about any base color, but if you want to use a color for your text, it kind of takes a little bit of dialing in to get the right color to make it really stand out enough. So let's go to like our hardcore yellow here. There we go. Cool. So right now I'm going to just turn on a just a background image, I guess, and I'll choose this one's pretty cool, and let's choose something appropriate for this. Something kind of maybe dark. This is yeah, maybe something kind of in the reddish orangish spectrum. This is like a solar system type styled image. We'll leave maybe the yellow text. No, let's go white. So now I'm actually going to turn the opacity down so that it's showing through a bit. And this, I'm going to just leave the default. Save that. And there we go. We need to see more through it. It's not quite, it's a little bit opaque, or a little bit translucent. We're a little bit above 50%. Let's see if we can get more without making it unreadable. There we go. We can see through the whole menu there, as well as our drop downs. You get too transparent, of course it's going to be very hard to see it all, so you don't want to go too far down into the darker transparent values, but that's pretty much it. I mean, definitely a lot has gone into this section. Tried to make the options as intuitive as possible. If there's any requests for any kind of functionality that you think would just be something that everyone would love, definitely send me an email or post a comment on the page here. I love reading this stuff. Seems you guys are really liking it so far, and yeah, let me know. I'm all for making it even better if you guys have more ideas to contribute. So yeah, I'm going to put in a different image here and just show a little bit. What did I put in? A green? Yeah, put in the snake image. So let's do like a greenish color like that. Still keeping some transparency and still keeping a light text color. So yeah, it's pretty sweet. I like this a lot. So the other thing I want to show is just some of the responsive functionality, because there is some unique things to HeroNav in the responsive and mobile views that kind of further set it apart from other sections that handle navigation. So I will just go ahead and jump over here and let's go to something that's a mobile width smaller. Okay, so it collapses the same way as other navigation sections, and we use this button to expand it. Now when the menu is set to the click mode, where drop-down menus are being revealed with a click, you'll see in the mobile view that it also collapses things in a similar way. So if I click on the post page, it shows the link for the post page as well as a separator and its drop-down items. Now this is added dynamically. This is not an extra item in the menu that I added. This is added by the section because when it's set to, well, normally, let's say with the navbar, if you go to click on any of the top level items that have drop down, well, the drop down is being triggered by click, so click can't work as a link. So what we've gone and done is inserted this dynamically, automatically, and this link will work. So this is faded. You can see that it's not really an item itself, but it's revealing all of the children items. So, and it kind of works similar to kind of like an accordion, where we're only showing one expanded menu at a time. So for mobile devices with not that much screen resolution, it's not so out of control vertically. If you have a lot of drop-down menus and children items, you're just seeing one at a time. And yeah, this is something that's really cool. So you don't lose your the ability to navigate to another page if you're building your menus from existing pages and stuff like that. That was something that always kind of frustrated me, and it was something that I was determined to solve with this section. So yeah, the difference with the hover mode is that everything is always expanded in the responsive view, which is just something that goes along with the hover mode. It's possible that I may build in that same functionality that exists with the click mode for hover if it's really asked for, but this is the way it is for now. And there we go. That's that. I think I've gone over everything, and I had actually gone a bit longer than I wanted to go, but I think we went through everything pretty thoroughly, so that everything should be well understood. If you guys have any questions about anything, please don't hesitate to ask. Just send me an email if you want to, or it's always great to try and use the support forum. If you have anything negative to say about it, please contact me first. If you're having any trouble with the section or the product, please contact me first. Don't just post some negative stuff about it without trying to get help first. I will go ahead and say that at the moment the browser support is very good, but for Internet Explorer I believe it's 9 and above. So yeah, not everything, but that's all. So if you have any questions, please contact me. Otherwise, that's it for now for HeroNav. I got some more stuff in the works. I'm pretty excited about it, and there's more coming. There's more good stuff coming. So again, if you guys have any constructive criticism or feature requests, enhancements, anything like that that you feel you can contribute, that would just ideas that would make any of my products better, I'm always open to those things. I try to make the best products that I am capable of making, and that's it. That's it for HeroNav. I will talk to you guys next time. Take it easy.